Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the question and answer session for Seattle.
Did Helen just freeze, or is that me?
Helen just froze. So we'll start again when
From the
Helen gets
Seattle
back.
bit. Hmm?
You froze for a second.
Oh, sorry. Um, with me are Kathy Bond and Alan Bond from the Seattle bid, and Joe Yao, who is one of the WISPAS division heads for Chengdu. He's actually in Chengdu right now. I think it's midnight his time, so thank you for joining us. So what we're going to do today is Seattle is going to do a short presentation. This will include video. After that, we will go ahead and get into the question and answer portion for Seattle. If you come up with questions for Seattle, please go ahead and put those in the chat, and I will add them in with the other questions that we've already received. Once the Q&A part is done for Seattle, we will go ahead and stop the recording. And then afterwards, we will do just a quick recap of how the voting process will be working this year. So if folks have questions about that, you can ask. So that's where we are. Alan, if you want to go ahead and turn all of us off as well. And then Kathy can go ahead and get started with the presentation.
All right, now my head is really large on the screen. Welcome everyone. So I think, gosh, it feels like I've been doing these presentations forever, and that you've already all heard my spiel and all of my greatest lines, but you're going to hear them, I suppose, at least one more time here. Seattle would like to welcome everybody to come to our city in 2025 for Worldcon. We want to invite you to experience the Pacific Northwest and our community of learners, readers, doers, makers, and creators. And more importantly, I think for this crowd, we want all of our local people who can't usually come out to Worldcon to get a chance to meet you as well. The last time that Seattle hosted a Worldcon was in 1961. So the city has changed just a smidge since then. The Space Needle, in fact, was not complete the last time Worldcon was here in Seattle. And now we have a wonderful Space Needle with, as local legends like to say, a Weedle on the needle to keep all of the children company. So that is what we want, sort of our intention. We will be hosting the event in the new Seattle Convention Center expansion called the Summit Building. It just opened this year in January of 2023. We've toured it a few times. We went to Emerald City Comic Con and saw how it works with an event that is easily like 5 times the size of Worldcon. So we have some ideas of what went well, what didn't go well, what we will never have to deal with because we won't be trying to cram 60,000 people into that space. And then we will be having hotels in a sort of circle around the convention center. The hotels are not connected to the convention center, but we will have space in the hotels that are right across the street. And also, I think the furthest hotel from the convention center is 6.5 blocks. Blocks, I realize, are not a very precise measurement, but I will say they are not New York City style blocks. Seattle blocks are short. I get very irate when I go other places and I'm like, oh no, it's so much farther than I thought. So with that, we also just recently did a video tour of the space, and we'd like to share the video of the Summit building with everybody so you too can see what a great space it is. So with that, Alan.
Audio Jungle.
Welcome
Welcome to the Seattle Convention Center Summit Building, the site of Seattle in 2025 Worldcon. I'm Alana and this is Sunny Jim, and we'd like to show you around this beautiful new facility that just opened to the public.
This is the main entrance to the summit on the corner of 9th and Pine in downtown Seattle. We're across the street from the Paramount Theater and 3.5 blocks from the Seattle Transit Tunnel at Westlake Station. The transit tunnel connects downtown to various points around and outside the city, including SeaTac Airport. It connects to many neighborhoods like Queen Anne, Capitol Hill, and the University of Washington U District. Bus service is frequent in the downtown core, and there are several parking garages in close proximity, including one inside this building. There's a dedicated drop-off pickup site on one side of the building for rideshare passengers. The Sheraton Hotel, where much of our late-night content and parties will likely be held, is 3 blocks away. If you want to stay closer to the convention center, we'll have room blocks at several hotels, including the Hyatt Regency, which is just across the street. Let's go inside. From the plaza, we enter the first floor. This will be where you enter the convention itself: registration, information, and access. Over here will be a full-service sit-down pizza restaurant, which is under development and opening soon. Once you have your badge, you'll be heading upstairs to where everything is happening. We will be prioritizing use of the elevators for attendees needing mobility assistance. The Summit Building is GBAC Star accredited, which means it was designed with sanitation and disease prevention built in. Additionally, cleaning protocols meet the highest standards to prevent transmission of infectious diseases. Let's head up to the second floor. This is the Flex Hall. This room will hold dealers, art show, club tables, autographs, and exhibits. Here, we'll have a member lounge with comfortable seating, a coffee shop, and a variety of food options. This is the convention's living room, and we hope you'll find it a comfortable space to rest and socialize. For those of you who will be exhibiting, I'm excited to share that the loading dock has 15 bays for our use and is connected to this hall by 3 service elevators and 3 extra-large cargo elevators. Exhibitors can also load in through the parking garage that is inside the building, which has access to the service and cargo elevators as well. Now let's visit our program space. The 3rd and 4th floors will host most of our programming. There are 2 main banks of elevators and escalators, one on each side of the building. This is the hill climb, one of the standout features of this building. These platforms are an excellent spot to take a break, charge your devices, and check out the amazing view. The 3rd and 4th floors contain more than 60 rooms configurable into a variety of sizes. They each have state-of-the-art technology and lighting with easy-to-navigate room numbers. On the 3rd floor, we have an outdoor space, a rooftop garden. This ought to be a very pleasant place to sit with your lunch and enjoy the open air and sunshine during the convention. The garden is entirely wheelchair accessible and will be open to members. There are plenty of water bottle filling stations and restrooms, including all-gender restrooms, located all over these floors, so you'll never have to go far to find one. Let's take the elevators up to the 4th floor. In addition to more programming rooms, the 4th floor offers the terrace room, one of our larger spaces. On the other side of the building, we have the Elliott Bay room, likely to be the site of kids programming. There will be additional food and beverage outlets on these levels. Here we are on level 5, the top floor of the convention center. This floor holds our main ballrooms, where you will see headline events like the Masquerade and Hugo Awards, concerts, and the panels and presentations that are expected to draw a large audience. Over here, we have the signature room, which will host the business meeting during the day and other events in the evening. On the other side of the 5th floor is the Overlook and Olympic View Lounge. Imagine this space filled with the buzz of people playing all sorts of tabletop games.
Thanks for touring the Summit Building with us. We think it's a fantastic facility and can't wait to share it with you in August of 2025. See you in Seattle.
Yay! That's actually the first time I've watched that all the way through. Um, uh, anyways, as you can see from that video, the summit building is highly configurable. We've been touring this space since they were actually constructing it. We did a hard hat tour there, and yeah, we're going to be able to make choices and changes. If you were at Emerald City, we've heard feedback from people who are like, the seating is not great. Well, Emerald City made choices in terms of the seating they put out. There are other options for that, and we'll be utilizing those. Um, and yeah, for the hotels, as you saw, the Sheraton is 3 blocks away. That is likely to be our party hotel. If you are a Seattle area regular, you've probably been in that hotel for PAX, which is PAX West, which is Labor Day weekend. They have a lot of experience dealing with fandom groups, so we are excited to also work with them. Hyatt Regency is right across the street. It's a higher end. It's a Hyatt. It's a Hyatt. It's a slightly higher end hotel. In terms of food, the current plan, there are going to be a couple different restaurants that go into the main floor of the summit building itself. They're not there yet because the building only opened 8 months ago, and they're still working out exactly who's going to be in there. We've heard Ethan Stoll is going to have something in there. He's a local chef who owns a lot of different restaurants around here. So that will be fun. But there are also plenty of food outlets within a 3-block walk, and you are only 8 blocks down uphill. So you can walk downhill to the market, Pike Place Market, and buy tons of fresh food. And there are more food options than I can easily remember myself that are in the market. Accessibility between all of the hotels and the convention center is that part of Seattle is relatively flat. I'm going for Seattle. Seattle does have hills, but we have in the past. I'm going to share this link again. We have in the past given people a link to a map, a crowdsourced map of accessibility here in Seattle. And so it's a overlay for, I think, Google Maps usually. And you can put in your own, we really like about this map is that you can put in your own needs into that map, and then it will, different people will tell you, yeah, it's great for that, or no, there's these cracks here, that's not going to be great for you. You might want to go this way instead. So just add that link here into the chat. The link is to a story that talks about the map and how it was created, and then the link to the map is inside the story. So with that, I think the next part of the presentation would just be to talk to you about the fact that we have over 400 pre-support members. So we're very happy that a lot of you have decided to join us on this journey and put money behind that that support. That has been very helpful for us in the bidding process, and it has enabled us to start out, if we are seated, we're going to start out with a little bit of a nest egg. So we really deeply appreciate and thank all of you for that. Our team is also steadily growing bigger and stronger. We have about 30 people dedicated already to yep, we're gonna be on this ride with you for 2 years if we end up seated. If you would like to join our team, please email us at info@seattleinc2025.org, and we will happily slot you into various places and spots. So it's in in2025.org. No, it's not. Never mind. That's the website. We dropped the in for the email. So that is all I had.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. All right. So I am going to state that, as of right now, your vote has not been finished and tallied. If I forget to add the phrase, if you win, to any of my questions, please take that as already there. Um, so, um, so I'd like to start with a question that somebody sent in to us. And they asked, what do you think is Seattle's biggest strength in this race?
Um, I'm laughing a little bit 'cause I'm not entirely sure how to answer that question because on some level, probably our biggest strength is just dogged persistence and stubbornness because we stayed with it for close to 7 years at this point. But that doesn't actually tell anybody much about what they can expect from Seattle. So I think
But it is a strength,
it
the
is a
fact that
strength.
you have stuck with it. So
Yeah. I think that sort of building off of that a little bit, what you can expect that might be a little different from a Seattle Worldcon. Having started attending more conventions, to promote the bid and also going to more Worldcons. I think we have what will be different at our Worldcon is we have a slightly um, deeper connection to workshops at our conventions in that. So like there's even an entire maker convention over on the east side of the state, Sage Ren Fair, Sage Fair Ren, Sage something, Sage Fin Con. Um, so we have a lot of tradition with that at our various cons. Geek Girl Con does their big hands-on science experiment area for kids every year, in addition to their video game lounge, which is a type of hands-on creativity. Um, and NorwestCon itself has a ton of workshops every year. Everything from build a Frankenstuffy, let's get all the cardboard in the hotel and make a city to destroy. Sunny Jim does she's done shoemaking demonstrations. Our costumers really get into the demonstrations a lot. So we have a lot of those hands-on workshops, also writing workshops as well, but a lot of that hands-on stuff. And I think that's something that's a little bit different and should be a lot of fun for everyone.
we had a question as well about the kind of what Seattle vibes will you bring to the convention, and that's obviously one of them. Is there anything else that you're thinking would be based on like location or anything that you think would make this um,
I think we'll have a lot of natural beauty from downtown. Also, August is the best month of the year to visit downtown Seattle. The skies will be clear and sunny. You'll have great views of the Sound and the mountains. So the rooftop terrace garden on the third floor, we actually really do expect a lot of people to be out there. We might have to put in some stock of sunscreen for people because no one will remember to do that. Um, but that's I think that will also be a unique vibe. Also, maybe that we're a little bit laid back here in Seattle. If you want to go in jeans and a t-shirt to even our five-star Tom Douglas and Ethan Stoll restaurants in this city, you can do that. No one is going to tell you you can't be there. Um, or
the
you're
one exception to that would be if anybody wants to go to Canlis.
right. There is only
Canlis
one
is the one
exception.
restaurant that requires a jacket for men and no shorts.
Yeah. Yeah, just one though, just one in a city the size of Seattle. So I think that also will be if you want to go out in your geek finery with your really fun, I saw R2D2 and Star Trek shirt. A lot of people will enjoy that and you will have no problem.
Yep. I'm picturing now with your sunscreen comment that you're going to just have two dispensers next to each other. One will be hand sanitizer and the other will be sunscreen,
Yeah.
so that folks can do that. I know, and you can say you don't want to tell us this yet. Um, do you think will your Worldcon have a theme to it?
Yes, our Worldcon will have a theme. We actually even know what. So if you'd asked me that question 2 weeks ago, I would have gone, "We'll have one." But now I can be all dark and mysterious and strange and go, we have one. So yes,
Ooh.
we do have a theme. We're pretty excited about it. And it's run its way past our advisory board. And they're excited about it as well. So, but we are not going to announce the theme until and unless we win
Okay.
in Chengdu. So stay tuned, everyone.
Okay. And along those lines as well, and again, this is something that I know you won't release until unless you win. How is the process going for guest of honor selection?
We have an amazing lineup that I again am super excited about. Um, and we will announce it. uh, we will announce it at the traditional time in the traditional manner. Um, and now I feel like I want to say, and then carrier pigeons, and we'll skywrite it in the sky, because we're that excited about it. But no, we will just announce it in the traditional time, in the traditional manner.
Let's move to some of the questions that we had regarding the location
Mhm.
for this. And I'll start with a couple of questions about the convention center itself. One person asked about the Wi-Fi situation in the convention center and how that is.
Yeah, so we're still in negotiations with the center itself about how much that's going to cost, but the convention is planning to buy Wi-Fi to have on throughout the building for everyone.
Okay.
It's just a uh, everyone wants it. And we actually probably will be, because we want to save more trees, print less paper. We're going to have a lot more. We're going to have digital options available for people. We will also have printed versions of our publications available too. But it makes no sense to try to encourage people to use the digital options if they then can't access said digital options. So that's where we are with that right now. But also in the convention center building itself, it's all, we're not using the basement space, which is the only space in the building where you don't even get cellular reception. So
Okay.
you have 5G access throughout the building. Also in general throughout downtown Seattle. There's really good cell coverage for all of, I mean, T-Mobile gets the best coverage because, T-Mobile is headquartered out here.
Yep.
But all of the major carriers have good coverage in downtown Seattle.
Okay. At the convention center, we had another question come in. Depending on where folks are when you're using a convention center, one of the things that comes with that are additional labor restrictions and labor costs, and that sort of thing, depending on, organized labor unions, etc. So, what can you tell us thus far? Again, obviously, this is pretty early days.
Mhm.
But what can you tell us thus far about what would the convention be required to do as far as union? You said in the video you showed places for, like dealers and stuff to be able to load in. So what kind of fan labor is available? Um, what can you tell us about all that?
So I first will preface all of this with I was the union president for 6 years of my local for a very long time. My husband is a member of our local union. We are a very union positive, uh, very union positive family here. So we will, and this is already baked into our budget and what we're thinking in terms of costs. But we will be using union labor probably as much as we can. We are not required to in the convention center except for 3 areas. Um, Anybody who any type of situation where we have security or like a door dragon or um, it also includes like if we want people to restrict escalator usage, like you can only go up, and you want somebody there to sort of like politely direct people how to use the escalator. That is required to be union labor. Um, any safety, there's a safety component that is also union labor. Alan, what's the safety that they do again?
You're muted, Alan.
You're muted, Alan.
You should request to unmute yourself.
I believe that that's mostly the building safety and access. So it's somewhat covered by the door guards, but there's also a behind the scenes aspect to it.
And then at the loading dock is Teamsters, but you only have to use them if you're going to be using a forklift. So as long as we don't have people bringing pallets upon pallets of things around, we'll be able to offload at the dock ourselves, and people will be able to hand carry in to the venue for dealers and art show
Okay, awesome.
from the dock, which is a beautiful dock. And I do have to, I do want to put in just really quickly, the entire convention center team that has taken us on all of these various tours is lovingly bemused by us. Because we keep asking to go see, like, we want to go see the dock, we want to go see the freight elevators, and they're like, why do you want to see these things? So that's been fun.
I can relate. I recently did a tour of Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle. And part of the tour takes you down to the dock and everything. And I was ridiculously excited to be down there and seeing it.
It is the
Right?
best stock in America in a
Right.
stadium. It is amazing.
And
It
yeah,
is amazing.
the tour guide had no idea what to do with the fact that I was like, this is amazing. What a great, and do you have this and that and whatever. So yeah, they often do not know quite what to do with our excitement over things like loading docks.
Oh, and Alan just reminded me that the final thing on union labor, because Alan is a member of IATSE 15, which is the local out here that does stagehands and AV tech. He has a lot of knowledge about how we can get volunteer labor from the union in terms of providing educational opportunities for people on the list. They get volunteer hours that help move them up the list, so that's their incentive, and we get labor, possibly slightly less experienced labor than like Alan is at this point after a decade on the list, but still people who have some experience and interest in volunteering. So that's something we'll also be doing with union labor.
That sounds great. Thank you. Moving a little bit to the hotels. You mentioned in your presentation that you're obviously negotiating with several hotels. One is the Sheraton, and there was a Hyatt, and I think we saw a double tree. I don't know, something else in the
It
video.
was a Marriott residence.
There we go. Do you have any information thus far on room prices for regular rooms or for suites, or and again, obviously this may not all be sorted out, but what are we generally looking at?
So I'm going to tackle room price range first. Because that is the slightly easier question to answer. So currently we're looking at a range between $228 per night to $279 per night. And that does not include tax. And somewhat unfortunately, downtown Seattle has a relatively high hotel tax rate of 15.6%. So just factor that in, everybody. The hotel price will be inclusive of internet, although as hotels have generally done at this point in time, you'll have to sign up for their loyalty program in order to get the free internet. But that's just sort of industry standard at this point. Not much we can do about that. And then it also will not include parking. Parking in downtown Seattle is a bit of a premium and expensive. So we would recommend you don't do it. Don't do it. That being so, if you're local, we're going to really highly recommend that you take transit in. If you're flying in, the light rail goes directly from the airport to the Westlake Center station, which is 4 blocks from the convention center itself. So it's all of that sort of 4 to 8, depending on which hotel you choose. It'll be 4 to 8 blocks on relatively flat, only a slight grade, slight grade for getting around. Um, there are below $100 a night places to stay in Seattle, in downtown Seattle. The Green Tortoise Hostel, which is down by Pike Place Market, currently is, I looked at this morning, it's $86 a night. There is also a hostel in the Chinatown International District, which is just a short two stops away on the light rail, but it is also walkable. It's a nice, probably 25 to 30-minute walk there. But the hostel down there is currently $98 a night in the Chinatown International District. There
Which is
are
one of the best food districts as well.
which is
So
also one of the there will be tons of food to eat there. Um, so that's in downtown Seattle. It is expensive. Also, August, as I said earlier, August is the best time to come to Seattle, which is why the hotels are so expensive. And cruise ship season has come back in full swing as well. So there are lots of people staying in the downtown hotels at that time. If you want to stay outside of downtown, there are options that will be below 200 a night. The further north or south you go from the downtown core. So if you go north, all the way north, right now the light rail line ends at Northgate. There's a Hampton Inn right there. Their pricing today was $218 a night, which is high for them. So I think probably it's because Drake was at Climate Pledge last night, and that was and also there were some games. So I think that's why that was so high. They're usually down in the 150 range. And then if you go so you're right on light rail there, and you're a 15-minute light rail ride to downtown at that point. By 2025, light rail will extend even further north, so there might be more options at that point. If you stay down by SeaTac, again, you can get a hotel that is pretty close to right on the light rail stop there, and you'll have hotel rooms in the sort of 115 to $250 range, depending on how nice you want to be. So that is hotels. Suite costs. We are still we're still negotiating that, and it's a more dynamic, active negotiation. So I don't really know for that.
I can relate to that. From Chi-County, we were negotiating sweet things much that took a lot more time than the regular rooms.
Yeah.
Coming back to parking, what are sort of general downtown rates for parking? And also, do you think that there may be a chance of negotiating something, especially like for dealers who have to drive in and park?
Yeah. So we do have a parking block in the convention center parking lot for us. It'll be controlled by us. We'll be able to dole out parking passes for people there. It's not going to be it's not we're still finalizing exactly how many spaces. It probably will not be enough spaces for everyone, so there will need to be some sort of give and take there. We also, with 2 of our hotels, we are trying to negotiate a reduced parking rate in their spots, but they valet, so they all share sort of the same. All of the hotels downtown pretty much share the same, like 4 parking garages for their spots. So we might be able to get something that way. We might, but what they wanted us to, they want us to give in return. We might not want to give in return. So again, that's negotiation. The common daily rates, you're probably looking at $30 a day at least. Yeah,
So
I mean, I do know some of the I do know the Hilton and the Marriott's. If you have status with them, you get a reduced rate for parking downtown, so that might be able to help you a little bit. Um, but if you're just trying to go into a garage downtown and park, you'll be at least $30 a day, and possibly, I think I've and if there are other events going on in the city, it can go up to about like $60 or $70. So
The good news is that's cheaper than it probably was in Chicago. So so people can be happy about that. So
public transit,
yes,
everybody.
public trans is indeed your friend. Um Talking a little bit about your sort of planning in terms of volunteers. Um, you're at the point where you're starting to put folks into actual uh, jobs for the convention should you win.
Mhm.
Um, what types of uh, what positions are you really hoping to have filled by the time the vote is done in October? What by the end of the year? How can people help at this point?
So we are, fingers crossed, going to have a full division head team by the time of the vote. So that's uh and then the other two positions, one that's filled, one that's not, that we were been planning to have by that point, were registration and IT. Registration is filled, but if you like IT, um, if you if the thought of integrating systems brings you joy, um, and explaining why my harebrained schemes will not work brings you joy, you should sign up for IT. Um, we do have we for that, to narrow that a little bit. We have a G Suite admin already who's pretty comfortable and confident on that side of things. So you won't have to do G Suite stuff if you want to be our head of IT. We've got that for you. We got you. Um, and we also have a website team already, so you won't have to deal with WordPress. We got you there too. Um, but you will have to figure out how to make WordPress and the registration system and possibly the G Suite all talk to each other. So good luck
Okay,
is how I feel about IT things. Um, in
I'm with you.
terms in terms of what we're hoping to fill by the end of the year, we're really hoping that we'll sort of have big area head roles filled out. Big being very subjective vibes type feeling. It's all vibes. It's vibes all the way down for that. The system we're using for Reg, we will be using the same system that Glasgow is using. It's called Clyde, because apparently if you develop it, you get to name it. So that's the system we will be using. So hopefully, uh, Glasgow will get all the bugs figured out while they're using it for their year, and it'll be smooth sailing for us.
Okay, sounds good. And thank you to Sean and Michelle who mentioned in the chat about parking, that there are websites to help you find cheap parking like in the moment, and that Saturday and Sunday also tends to be a bit cheaper for that as well. The last question that I have for you, and if folks do have other questions, again, please toss them into the chat. But my last one for you is, tell me, one of the things that for a lot of places, like, we had for Chicago and Chengdu and Dublin and London and all, is people like to come in early or stay longer and be tourists,
Mhm.
right? So can you tell me what would be kind of an ideal tourist day in in Seattle?
All right.
I had someone ask me this for Chicago, so I'm going to
In
ask it for
S-
you for Seattle.
in Seattle itself, not
Yeah,
travel.
like
Yeah.
if you
Okay.
were just going to come in a little early and you're going to still stay like by the convention center, right? Check into your hotel and you're going to hang out there for a couple days after. What might you do?
So, honestly, I this is going to be tempered a little bit by what I will try not to just tell you what I would do with a day free in downtown Seattle. But probably you're going to want to first bring your walking shoes because it will be because you're going to do a fair amount of walking. So if you're staying downtown by the convention center, I'd start my day out at I'd go down to Pike Place Market. There is some great coffee there, or the ginger beer store, Rachel's Ginger Beer, if that's how you like to start your morning with a little bit of ginger. Tea, there are tons of tea stores. There's a great Parisian bakery there that does amazing little tarts. And you can, I would so collect your breakfast, and then there are some viewing areas in the market that you can use to look out over the sound, or I would recommend going to Victor Steinbrook Park, which is down sort of to the right and right on the water, and then you can enjoy breathtaking views. As Michelle
That's the
said,
one that's currently being renovated, right?
it is currently being renovated. It's more
It should be fabulous from what I've seen of
it's
the
mostly
drawings
done.
for it.
Yeah. um and then from there, depending on what you want to do, I would probably then head to the Seattle Art Museum because there's some really great exhibits in there, and it's a lot of fun. The little hammering man outside, he's really fun. And then when you're done at the museum, there are a lot of places on the harbor steps there to get lunch and things like that. Um, as Michelle said, I think I saw a scroll by in the chat. Michelle and Sean are also locals who are giving lots of advice there. Um, Take the ferry over to Bainbridge. You can just walk onto the ferry. It's about a 30-minute ride, so you get and I think it's like $9 as a walk on for the ferry, and you just take a round trip, and it's a if you the round trip is an hour total, so 30 out, 30 back. um, and you just get a water tour of Seattle. um, there's also, as Sean pointed out, the Museum of Popular Culture. From the convention center, you take a 2 block walk down to the monorail stop. The monorail only takes you to Seattle Center, so you only go one place. And that's where the Museum of Popular Culture is. That has the Hall of Fame, Science Fiction Hall of Fame. It has the sci-fi part of the museum. It used to be the Science Fiction Museum and the Experience Music Project, and now they just glommed them all together. Why Paul Allen didn't just call it my home of collections, the Paul Allen Home of Collections, we may never know, but he didn't. And it's that's a lot of fun as well. So we're going to have on that note, uh, we have someone sort of for a fringe tour person already, and they're going to be putting lots of information up on the website of like, here are fun places you can go in the city. Also, if you corner any of us who've been on the bid for long enough, we're all decades long Seattle locals at this point, so we'll tell you tons of stuff to do, more stuff than you want to know, actually, probably.
Yeah. And we had some great suggestions in the chat, people talking about, taking a ferry ride. I know you can also do like a ride through the Ballard locks. Those ships go through locks, and there's like on either side of the ship in the lock. It's kind of mind-boggling, but people mentioned the underground Seattle tour, which is
Hmm.
the thing. I'll mention the Chihuly Museum, which is phenomenal. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of great things in there. So
And I just saw Sharon's question about when walking in Seattle, are there benches available for breaks? And that I don't know how to answer that without getting my lefto pinko radical hat on. Because I have very strong feelings about the hostility of public architecture in American cities in general towards the idea of there being, oh my gosh, people might sit on things. So the broad answer to that is there are some, but not as much as there should be, especially for a city of our size. And also, so your best bets, there is a lot of public transit. About 40% of the stops will also have benches. Metro is being dicks and they keep taking them out because they don't want homeless people to be there. Um, that's the radical pinko rant for that part
Yep.
of it. Um, and so yeah, it really depends. It also depends on where you are going. If you're going into the really touristy area, like down to Pike Place along the waterfront, yes, there will be tons of seating options and things like that. Also, Seattle Center, it's really designed with that in mind. If you're going into Pioneer Square, which is it's the part of the city that the whole city burned down in 1889, but it's the part that it's the old part of town. There aren't as many there. So there are lots of parks. Seattle has tons of parks, just like randomly you'll be walking along, you're like, that's a park. There's actually a park right by the convention center. It's called the Freeway Park. Bet you can't guess why. So they're usually, and there's usually seating, public seating within those parks too.
Okay. Final question then is for people who want to support the bid at this point. We're going to get into talking about the voting process as well in a couple minutes, but for supporting the bid, what are people's options right now?
Yes, I'm trying to pull up there we go. So here's where it is on our website. The link there in the chat. The options are whatever amount you want. So when you go through the site, a tip for the barista will automatically do $20, but there's also an option for a custom amount. So if you just want to do that, that is also fine. Or if you supported us at a lower level before and you'd like to upgrade, that's how you'll do that. Just a custom amount, put a note in the field. I was a tall, now I wish to be a grande. And that will make sense to us, and and we'll do that conversion for you. The other levels are because people associate us with coffee, rightly or wrongly, probably rightly. We leaned in. So our pre-support levels are tall, which is $50, grande, which is $150, and a triple shot, which is $300. So.
Okay. And for any of those, if you vote in site selection, do any of them convert automatically to add on like your attending? So when you vote, right, and I'm guessing most of the folks on this call are aware of this, but when you vote, you automatically get your WSFS membership, which used to be called a supporting membership. And that's what allows you to do things like nominate and vote in the Hugos, vote in site selection in 2025 for 2027, that kind of thing. And then you can purchase an attending supplement. So with your bid support options, do any of them automatically add on that attending supplement if you vote?
Yes. If you vote, the tall membership, that $50 will be a dollar for dollar credit towards any supplement you might want, any attending supplement you might need later. The grande, if you vote, automatically converts to an adult attending, and the triple shot also automatically converts. Plus tokens of our gratitude, TBD.
Okay.
We've had a lot of ideas about what they are. It sort of depends on how much gratitude we how many of you do it, and how much gratitude we therefore have to give out.
Okay. You just said something which triggered another question for me, because you mentioned the adult attending.
Mhm.
What are you considering having any special so a lot of Worldcons
Yeah.
have done special rates for groups like a first Worldcon membership, or lower rates for young adults, that sort of thing. Are you considering doing anything like that?
Yes. The short answer to that is yes. We're still, and for Tony's question there, the price of membership without a pre-support, we are still finalizing that information. Um, so what I can tell you is it won't be below $150. Um, but we're not 100% sure where exactly it's going to land yet, because we're still crunching some income projection
Sure.
numbers to figure out what where we actually can land on that. But in terms of different types of memberships, yes, we will be offering first Worldcon rates. We will be offering YA young adult, sorry, young adult rates. We will likely child rates, although we're still figuring out where exactly child begins and ends. um,
Right.
for those things. Another thing that we are still discussing and might happen. There are a lot of nonprofits in the Seattle area that do sort of tiered membership options for people, like, and let people choose. And the idea being, like the YMCA does that a lot for their camps. They set a tier one price. It's a bare minimum price. They set a tier two price, and then a tier three price, and they explain why. Like tier three actually covers all of your costs and helps subsidize somebody else. Tier two, that sort of thing. And then tier one is the absolute minimum we can accept from somebody who's coming here. And it works. It works pretty well for them in terms of being able uh, to get money So that is something we're also considering, in terms of being able to um, ask people who can to maybe pay a little bit more so that we can keep prices low for the people who really can't.
Okay. And along with that, we've had over the last few years some crowdfunding
Hmm.
to help get people to Worldcon, and it's been directed in different ways, right? The Fantastic Detroit Fund was very much targeting people who lived in Detroit in 2014. Dublin's specifically targeted people living in Ireland. Um, Chicago's was focused on people from historically marginalized groups, as well as people who lived within the city limits and all. Are you all looking at doing something similar, or what are you thinking
Yes.
about with that? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. There.
And having been the person who wrote the documentation for the ShyCon Fund, I can say, I don't like to reinvent the wheel, so look for it to be probably similar.
Okay. Awesome. So we're about at our hour. What I would like to go ahead and do then is go ahead and turn off the recording part. This will be put up I'm assuming Seattle will put it up on their website, and Chengdu will also put it up on ours. And I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you to Kathy and Alan. And to Joe, who's going to probably join me a little bit for the voting process part of this. But thank you all for your time and your questions, and we look forward to seeing you in Chengdu, or at least seeing your ballots come through my email. And then hopefully to see you in Seattle in 2025 if all goes well.
All right.
All right, Alan, if you want to go ahead and